Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Overwatch Carbon Series. Gilfrost here with ZP and Hex, and we're halfway through week 5 as we're here in day 2, 1 match down, and we've only got 3 matches left before the playoffs, and yet we still have really no idea of where the standings are going to lie. It's still a very much an uphill battle for Liquid. They were able to find victory, but if you just to put it in perspective, what they need to do or what needs to happen for them to still get in it, they need to beat LGE tomorrow. compLexity needs to lose right now against Renegades. They need to lose again against Immortals, and so this is the recipe for them to make it in. And even then, it's still, I think, a tie. So a lot of complicated math going in there, and I'm not paid for my superior math skills, although I do have them. I just want you guys to know.
Good.
But anyway, we're going up now with compLexity versus Renegades. And as I had mentioned, this definitely has implications for the playoffs for Liquid, but also on the line are compLexity and Renegades' hopes. As Renegades, they have been in second place all season, and now technically they are in third behind Immortals. They are tied, and this would push them back into that second place slot. Whereas if compLexity finds victory, then we got a 3-way tie right there in the middle for that second, third, and fourth place spot in this case. And as much as I like excitement, part of me just wants this to be a nice, neat standings coming out of this one.
Well, I don't have to do any of the math, so I don't have to worry about
Even
that
less
at
than
all.
I do, yeah.
I will not do any math. I've made that promise to both myself and the viewers because it gets muddled and it's just downright awful. But as you mentioned, a lot on the line here because the difference between a second and third seed, which will have to play each other, and the fourth seed, which has to face the behemoth that is LG Evil at 9-0, a world of difference. You don't want to have to face LG Evil in the first round.
Right. That is the key difference here in that in some tournaments, the difference between 2 and 3 is very big. In this case, 2 and 3 play each other, but you don't want to leave open the possibility that you go down to that 4 slot and then suddenly have to deal with LG Evil in the very beginning. That can make a difference over the course of the tournament. That said, taking a look at the matchup we have here, it is going to be very interesting because compLexity, they have to look at this and go, between today and tomorrow, they just need 1 game and they're in. And then, of course, they're probably looking at fighting LG Evil, which is not great, but is certainly better than being eliminated outright.
Yeah, and actually looking even more detailed at this matchup, in the first time these teams met, compLexity actually was one of the upsets for Renegades. So in the head-to-head, which would be the potential tiebreaker, if compLexity wins this one, then no matter what, they are going to be ahead of Renegades, which means they'll either be second or third, depending on how Immortals and Renegades would stack up. So definitely a lot on the line here for compLexity. They can really solidify their spot, not only in the playoffs in general, but even solidify that second and third place pillow cushion that we're looking for. All these teams are trying to get, since nobody wants to play against LG Evil. Well, let's take a look at compLexity's lineup coming into this one, as they will be the away team, so to speak. They're all away from us, but it's going to be Torque, Nicholas, and the newest player, Reach. We'll talk a little bit more about him here in a second. Playing the DPS/flex role. Meza is going to be the tank coming into this one, and then Joe Meister and Shake, the most consistent part of this roster as healers. And well, let's talk about Reach a little bit here. And this is going to be a little bit of a loaded question. What do we know about Reach coming into this one?
I'll answer that. I was stunned by it. There is very few players, and you guys have brought up like, oh, they're gonna have this player tonight, and you guys are like, do you know much about it? I'm like, yeah, sure. Played 8 months ago on this team, and very rarely is there a player brought up that neither ZP or I have heard of. We even reached out to the expert that we talk to when we're looking for information. He didn't know of Reach, so a complete question mark.
I'll name drop him here just because the community knows him. They do refer to him by different names, but I'm going to refer to him by his exact name in Slasher and say that for a guy that is basically the TMZ of Overwatch,
he does not
who
like
knows
that.
everyone on ladder, everyone on teams, probably their birth date and social security number, when you ask him about Reach, he goes, I don't know. There's not a whole lot of info to be had overall, so I'm not sure where he came from in this case, but I am curious to see what he's going to bring to the table as compLexity has, yet again, changed their roster.
Yeah, and part of that means that there's definitely some pressure on him, but I've got to think that hopefully he's coming into this match thinking, listen, nobody has any expectations for me, and maybe that'll allow him to really just flex his muscles. And obviously compLexity chose him for a reason. Whether that's short-term gains, whether they think they can win today with him, or whether they think that he would just mesh with the rest of their team has yet to be seen. But he's definitely going to have to bring it against this very powerful Renegade squad. Across on the other side of things, we do have our player to watch. It's not going to be the newest player of Reach. It's going to be Torque coming to this one. And both of the TJO brothers, as they're called, have been very instrumental in the times that compLexity has succeeded. But they have also been a little bit lacking in those times that they have failed. What are we looking for out of Torque coming into this matchup?
It's very difficult to predict what Renegades is going to run, as yesterday we really thought they'd be on Pharah, and now especially with the Ana nerfs, you would expect even more Pharah. Mangachu trying to prove a point on his 76, I think, a little bit yesterday, but they did well when they ran the Pharah. Torque has been the one who flexes on to the McCree when they need it. He's ran maybe 30 total minutes of McCree in this entire tournament, but looked decent on it. Of the two DPS who we largely think are inconsistent for the most part, Nicholas has been much more consistent throughout this tournament. For the most part, Torque was, but has shown flashes of reverting back to that old inconsistency. He was about to turn the corner after about week 2, where he was just looking better than he's ever looked. We need to see that Torque tonight if they have any hopes of taking down a combo.
It has been an incredible amount of pressure on the compLexity Core 4, as I'm going to name it, because they have had to adapt to a whole variety of changing circumstances. And here tonight, they're going to have to adapt again, where Nesh, honestly, was very promising for compLexity. He was giving them a great option in regards to Genji, something that they never had. Maybe Reach is going to be able to give them that. I assume that that is why he would be brought onto the team, to be able to help in that projectile DPS role, but there's no guarantee that he's going to be doing as well as Nesh was previously. Maybe he'll do better. We don't know. That's the problem with doing analysis on compLexity right now, is that because they cannot keep a consistent 6-man roster, because it is changing every single week, they are a wild card of wild cards, and it's unfortunate for them here because they do have 2 relatively tough outs to try and secure their spot here in the OCS playoffs. I mean, maybe they'll get some help from LG Evil, but it's not a great position for compLexity to be in right now.
No, and one thing that has now remained the same, that has been a big question, is Meza at the very least. But now, especially if they are going to run multiple tanks, now you're throwing him in with another new guy in Reach, and so I wouldn't be surprised when they have thrown in Nesh and these newer tanks. They have, prioritized Zarya and just getting a couple of good combos in there. But it is going to be curious what they bring out, especially with it being patch day. But let's go ahead and take a look at Renegades in that case. Their opponents coming into this match, as they're looking to not be tied up through a 3-way tie in the middle of the pack. They want to take it here and solidify their spot in that 2nd and 3rd place region. Jesus Mangachu and the newest flavor of the week, Saini, and Juvenile Sherlockian Jur to round things out. First of all, looking at Saini, talking about new guys, how did we see him perform yesterday?
I liked Zarya. I liked the coordination he had with Jesus. I absolutely did not like him on DPS. His DPS play did not come out strong. Maybe it was just a bad showing, but he was barely treading water on DPS when you need to get far more out of it. So maybe it's ping. He is playing from Europe onto NA servers. That it would be lax if I did not mention that. However, I think for right now and what you're dealing with when you are in a game that you certainly want to win for seeding, I'm not convinced that right now Saini on DPS is the play.
I would tend to agree with that. I think they did best when he was on the Zarya, and they brought back the combo we haven't seen a lot of, and it was largely because Jesus was running that diva, able to come over the top. Those are some of the most well-placed detonations I've seen in all of Overwatch, and working it with the Graviton, and then the coordination to very often take out the shield. Super was always having to put in a Sophie's Choice situation of do I die this way or that way, but he was going to die.
Yeah, no, and Jesus is actually going to be our player to watch coming into this one, and it's hard to argue against that with his performance yesterday. We had not really seen him on Diva, and the replay from yesterday was a veritable highlight reel of him exploding his mech onto multiple members of the opponents.
Let's just be clear here for Renegades. Right now, if you take a look at how their supports are playing, their supports are very much geared around maximizing Mangachu. They probably should be geared around maximizing Jesus, because the amount that he's been able to get done in a lot of times freelance roles has been incredible. If there's been an MVP for Renegades by any stretch of the imagination, it has been Jesus, who has been bringing high quality gameplay regardless of the situation, regardless of how the rest of RNG is playing. Even when RNG dropped a gigantic goose egg against IMT and got blown out, Jesus still looked very good in that matchup. So for me, he's not only the player to watch on RNG, he's just the best player on that team, period, right now.
I think of him in very much the same way I think of Hedan, that Jesus is the most consistent. Everything you said, I echo 100%. The only time that I question some of the things, and it's not even questioning Jesus himself, but you know they're struggling when Jesus is on Roadhog. It's just not the hero that he's the best on. He's still fine on it, but to have him on Roadhog means that everything they've tried up to that point hasn't worked. Yep. So they're on plan D at that point, which means things are going poorly for Renegades.
Well, and that's something that we've actually seen, because we have seen Mangachu and them going around a 3-tank composition around Jesus.
Right.
We even saw them going around Tsani last night, which didn't work out very well. And it has worked out when they've done it around Jesus. Mangachu will even play the Roadhog. But the thing is it does seem like their last resort. They do it when they've exhausted everything else. And you have to question, well, maybe you should go to that a little sooner, and as far as adaptability goes.
It was very weird to watch them on Nepal yesterday, where the only round they win, and they win it very decisively, is when they're on Pharah. And then they don't even attempt Pharah on the other rounds that they knew that they lost earlier in the match. I understand not wanting to go the Pharah all the time. It was making RNG very one-dimensional. But on the same note, when you are facing elimination and you have already made Pharah work earlier in that particular map, what are you losing at that point by at least giving a shot? If you try it out and it gets stuffed on a different round, fine. But you at least owe it to yourself to go in and run that, because Mangachu is a very good Pharah. And when you run good Pharah compositions, at the very least, make the other team prove that they can beat you. If nothing else. If they do, so be it. But I don't think they really even gave their Pharah composition a fair shake the last time we saw them.
No, I would have to definitely agree. And we haven't seen as much Pharah the last couple of days, but when we have seen it, it actually has been fairly successful. And then until you see people bringing, the McCrees and other answers, and especially with Anna, the damage not being quite as much, I'm curious to see if we're going to see a little bit more of it. I feel like it could be a key to success here for Renegades. Well, we're going to find out here on Hollywood, as that is going to be the first map of the night. And this one was selected by Renegades. We're going to go into map here shortly, but what have we seen from Renegades on Hollywood throughout this event?
A lot of dive, a lot of Pharah. I think they have the possibility now with Tsani to run an opening Widow Gambit if they want to go for it. Of course, Tsani will flex onto Widow on occasion. But generally, we've been watching dive. If they do choose to run a 76, it's the rotation up to the high ground. That's mostly what we've been seeing. And then on second point, they will run a Pharah or just a couple of vertical tanks, too, sometimes.
Yeah, any thoughts from UZP?
I mean, we see a lot of Pharah when they're running well. I mean, we did see quite a bit of 76 in the last matchup, where they decide, all right, we're going to make 76 more of a thing. I do think that given how vertical Hollywood is, again, for Renegades, they should be going into all these matches here with the idea, run the Pharah comp, make the other team prove they can beat it, then have a good second plan up. I don't really understand why they've gone away from what has worked so well for them, at least until the other team proves they can actually deal with it. So I think, though, for Renegades, they do tend to be somewhat stubborn when they choose a path of attack here, and I'm not sure we're going to see Pharah here, even though it would make perfect sense.
Right. They are stubborn in the Pharah when they get on it. They're a little late to switch off of it, and then they're stubborn to not run it. So there's been some stubbornness all over.
Yes, well, no matter which way you slice it, this is one of the most impactful matches as far as playoff hopes go, and I want to make sure that everyone is still very aware that on Twitter we are still looking for more candidates for giveaways and stream time. So make sure, as the plays are unfolding, that you are tweeting at us at GameCarbon with the hashtag OCSPlays, describing your favorite plays from this match as we take it into Hollywood.
It's very possible that Reach has some history with, I believe, Torque and Nicholas. It might be a former TF2 player, if I'm correct. I was just reading some of the chat between them. They were throwing around some TF2 terms and tournament mode, so very possible. But making his debut, at least for me, in front of my eyes, first time I've seen him play Overwatch. We'll see what Reach brings. He's queued up on the Genji, which we thought might be the case as they're trying to replace that Genji threat. Defensively, no fair on the field, but it is defense. Tsani will be on the 76.
All right, and we'll see just how this works out here. I do like the idea of getting Mangachu off the 76. Again, I just don't know if Tsani was the right player to bring in onto that setup, but the dive into the cafe coming in immediately here from compLexity. 3 people in, and the results still to be determined. as both teams trying up poke, but it's going to be Torque getting that early pickoff onto the mech. 2 kills here for compLexity, and the Cafe Dive certainly doing a bit of work here as Renegades now getting pushed back a bit, trying to find a way of pulling this back, but compLexity, they're reinforcing and they're making it rather difficult here for Renegades.
Dive does go back in, and eventually Saini falls to Torque, who was on the opposing ledge, eating a lot of damage as Mangachu right now just trying to get his way and contest this point. One tick has been taken. Mangachu is finally forced out, has to come out here and fight, but people on Renegades are dying all around him. Juvenile and Jesus go down. Mangachu finds himself nearly all alone.
Just not enough throughput coming out there from Renegades in terms of any form of pick power. It wasn't coming in from Saini. It certainly wasn't coming in from Mangachu there. Wasn't charged up for most of that, and as a result, Renegades, they lose the point very decisively, and compLexity going to have a nice little bonus going in the second as they're very powered up mobilized.
Absolutely, and they're going to be pressing forward right now. I think one of the problems was Renegades was unable to punish the dive composition. When the dive comes in, you can get kills. They're putting themselves in a vulnerable position, but they let them jump in and out twice, unable to convert any of those into kills.
5 ultimates up here for compLexity. Not only did they take that first fight, they took it enormously decisively. Now, let's see what they do with this advantage. We have seen teams throw away advantages like this before. Reach, Soundbearer, Dragonblade, going into the back, forcing Renegades out of the building, or at least trying to do so. Gets nothing off this Dragonblade. Not the best opening for a Dragonblade when you're auditioning for a team. So Renegades still reasonable in being able to defend this, and there comes a tech visor from Saini. Finds Torque, and Jesus now able to land the point and be a pest.
He's trying to get to the backline and get Zenyatta there. Zenyatta is retreating. Now does see, forcing the Transcendence out as they continue to try to push. Jesus has put some good pressure on off of the D.Va and the Tracer. It's been one of his best heroes throughout the tournament.
Gotta say, this is a bit of a disappointment for compLexity. You can't have a situation where you have that big of an advantage, and then you end up with, at best right now, is going to be a traded out fight, but very likely a lost fight. That is not what championship teams do in Overwatch, and yes, they're still going to turn it back around now, but that should have been much cleaner for the advantage that they had.
I'm an enormous fan of aggression, but I don't think they should have started the fight there. They were getting what they wanted. There was free cart push. Let's play to the objective. They didn't need to pick the fight. They could have reacted.
Right, it's up to Renegades to come out and stop the payload. Just keep pushing until they come in. Great advantage, but Renegades will get a final attempt to try and stop this here before second, but Torque, all the space in the world here up on top. No one going for him. Do have a Graviton on the ground here by Renegades, but very little going to come out of Mangachu's Graviton there as Torque still just playing Duck Hunt here up over the top. No one on him, able to lay in all the damage a 76 could ever hope for as the ground war goes equally as well. compLexity easily going to be rolling here to the second point.
Maybe the sun gets in their eyes, maybe it's the optics. I don't know why the last couple days we have seen a soldier on that building not even get shot at once, not even noticed. Cloak of Invisibility in full effect. Yesterday it was Grim, there it was Torque, able to just do whatever he wants up over top. Again, the ultimate advantage will be in favor of compLexity as we move towards the next fight. Reach looking for a redemptive Dragon Blade. Torque also will have it up, and look at this high ground. Great for them to already take this high ground away.
compLexity has great position here in keeping Renegades off balance as they desperately try and get some stability in their defense here. We'll see what Reach has here. Torque can do a flanking tactical visor, and this initiation of Renegades very scattered. They don't immediately get what they want. Here comes Torque on the flank. Tac visor in. Still, though, Soundbearer going to mitigate what he can do as Mangachu goes off, picks up 2, looking for a little bit more, and despite it being a little bit weird, the counter flank from compLexity falls completely flat.
That was a gorgeous sound barrier that came out, absolutely necessary from Jared to win that fight. This is a stabilization fight for Renegades as they're back into it. I like that they noticed the high ground, then decided just to turn the corner. Those 3 that were behind, absolutely out of that fight, they decided to take that fight piecemeal. We'll go 6v3, then we'll go 6v3 again. Absolutely dominant there. Juvenile does give his life up a little too early. Torque Dell adds a second kill into Mangachu. compLexity winning this fight.
Renegades was too far out there, at least for how they were positioned. They were very scattered in counter diving, and they just get punished by the hit scan power here of compLexity. The TJO brothers really uniting together for a great fight. And now, as we roll into last, compLexity again going to have an enormous momentum advantage. It's going to be up to Jesus here to try and break this momentum a little bit with a pulse bomb, but relying on that can be dangerous at best. Jesus leaping in over the top to the back. Mangachu in the back himself, trying to hold things out as McCree, but gets an angry Winston in his face. Goodbye, Mangachu. Bad situation for McCree. Torque in over the top. Tactical visor, looking for anyone. Gets one early on, getting booped and bopped around, but you look at the rest of the fight, Renegades is able to get a key kill on the Shake, and maybe this will let them delay it out, but it's very close nonetheless.
A little surprised Torque ended up using that Deadeye there. Now he does not have it up for this next fight. Does stay on the McCree though, but the cleanup does come through as Jesus and Jur combine with Mangachu to get a couple here. 2 minutes to finish out the map for complexity. They just used most of their ultimate power. They're going to switch up compositions. Meza will move over to the Reinhardt instead. Nicholas onto a Roadhog, so a little more meat on the ground. Still waiting for Reach to get the Dragon Blade to close out this map. He's almost there.
Well, we'll see if Reach's Dragon Blades can actually do that much right now. It's been a relatively rough game for him in converting those Dragon Blades into tangible results. Still, Sandy up here at the top, fighting a soldier in the health station, and no, not going to work out very well for him at all. Gets taken down by Reach on the cleanup. 65 opportunity here. Renegades down a soldier. Nice sleep dart to interrupt for a moment, and Reach does not feel interested in using Dragon Blade, and the opportunity clearly lost as both tanks for complexity going to be falling.
Yeah, the moment has passed. Now the cleanup will come in late. Torque goes down, only 3 alive right now. They have to be careful. There are teams that will just come out these doors and push you all the way back to your spawn. You don't want to lose anyone out here, but they will regroup. 1 minute and 20 seconds left. Reach still looking for the opportunity for the Dragon Blade, perhaps now waiting for Shake as they do near the Nano Blade possibility.
Do or die here in terms of Reach proving his worth, at least in map 1. Nano Blade is one of the very key ways of breaking into this last point on Hollywood. And that's almost certainly what's going to be on the menu. It's just, is it going to be effective? Complexity poking back and forth. They are only going to get one shot at this, so they want to make it a good one. They're waiting, and no, they go for the Nano Visor instead. Reach going to have to freelance this a bit as Torque comes with the Nano Visor, gets slept. Gets woken up immediately, though, so he's still in this fight. It's 3 unanswered kills by Complexity. The defensive Graviton falling entirely flat, and it was more Nano Visor than not, but it does work out. They're going to roll this very peacefully here to this yellow box victory.
The original yellow box of victory.
I will say, though, that it should trigger people a little bit that they are not parking that particularly well. You go through all that trouble, all that war zone, and then you just sort of park it crooked? Come on.
You are a man meticulous about his parking situation. I will give you that much.
It is true.
You really leveled up, though. I mean, in the time I've spent with you in Denver, your parking has gotten better and better. A+.
I mean, really, the confession and backstory to that is that I am not much of a city driver. I was a suburb driver. Parallel parking was a strange beast, but I'm willing to say that I've leveled up there, and I do some good parallel parks in my time.
It's been solid. I think my mockery of your lack of parallel parking ability, I will take credit. I was the rough teacher on you. I enjoyed the lack of parallel parking early
If by
on.
teaching you mean laughing at me and going, do you need me to park for you? Then yes, I felt my pride shatter into tiny little pieces.
Well, that was long ago. Now ZP, the parallel parking legend, in full effect. That was an interesting round. Towards the end there, Reach did get a couple of kills with the Dragon Blade. One with the Blade, one after it dissipated, but they were both supports. So far fitting into this. But Complexity looked very good there. The defense not as strong from Renegades. Still unimpressed with Saini on the DPS and not winning the 1v1s that he set himself up for. However, Renegades now gets a chance to attack. If they finish the map, we'll move on to a second round. If they do not, it will be Complexity taking this first map. It looks like they want to run a Pharah.
Pharah very much will be in play here for Renegades, and I'm happy for it. It has been good for them on offense to run the Pharah here, at least, and especially against Complexity, who has still had moments in their history where they don't deal with Pharah well. It's a match made in heaven here as far as Renegades getting a potentially very solid setup to open up here on Hollywood. Now, if it works out that way, we'll have to see. Complexity has had plenty of time to deal with Pharahs, and they certainly should know it's coming with how Renegades has played in recent times.
Absolutely. So a lot of it, as we mentioned in the pregame, going to be up to Torque here right now on the Soldier 76 to try to deal with the Pharah. They do also run an Ana here, even though we've seen less of her with the damage changes coming into her snipe, but still very good at dissuading a Pharah. We'll see what they can do. Mangachu does take some entry damage, but now being largely ignored until someone pops up in the cafe, able to keep himself healthy, get up top, now still laying in the damage. Meza's got to be careful.
This is great damage on the Reinhardt. It's very close, but no, a little Meza able to take him down before falling himself in the cafe. The dive perhaps a little bit too aggressive. Just one more rocket a little bit earlier would have made it better, but Nicholas gets a cleanup onto the back. So Mangachu falls, and the back line of Renegades falling with him. That fight was much more on the edge than it probably appeared.
Jesus, unable to get out there, will be demeched as he's met with a welcoming party on the ground. They will leave him out of his mech, actually. An interesting way to not stagger, but still somewhat limit the ability of a D.Va. Eventually, she will get back in that mech, given enough time. Jesus working his way up towards that right now. They will try to come in. Reach is moved onto the Zarya now. Let's see what we can get done here.
Reach is pretty powered up here. This is where Zarya does become a bigger DPS threat in these situations. I'm curious on for Meza. Meza has the Earth Shatter. He's going to drop that hammer right there, knocking down 2, I believe, and just rolling forward. But the fall through, not there early on. It's going to be up to Nicholas to try and pull this back, and he might be doing that with Meza. Late Graviton into the fight from Reach. Only on 1. It's not the most impressive nor necessary Graviton, I suppose, but end of the day, compLexity is going to hold on to this fight. I don't know. I'm rethinking that Graviton. It pretty much is a mistake.
Probably. There were still 3 alive. Only getting 1 into it is a little bit brutal right there. The thing with Graviton is it's so valuable, and it's such a fight-changing ultimate that even if you're getting less than ideal value, it seems like a mistake almost every time there. Offensively, though, they're going to have a couple of their own tank ultimates up. Juvenile is working towards it, and Jesus will have a self-destruct. They've been so good. Still far away from the Graviton.
Mangachu into the back, holding onto the barrage. Is he going to drop it? Uses it right onto Meza, but the sound barrier stops it from being an immediate kill and makes Mangachu sell for 1 as he gets bopped right out by Torque as Nicholas, the explosion, takes down 2. Not the engage Renegades was looking for here. compLexity able to hold strong. Juvenile, not quite a clone of Kaiser in terms of corner camping and shenanigans.
Did Sadie start the game on Zarya?
No. Jesus, why is this happening to you right now? The stagger. This is all sorts of unfortunate. I mean, he can get back to the mech, but no.
It would be a bad idea. It's a smart play by Jesus to just eventually go down there. Getting back in the mech just means they pop him out right away and you're in the same situation again.
Then you're getting stalled once more.
Well, I was asking if Sani was on the Zarya to begin with because I don't necessarily recall, but he is just now getting up to a Graviton charge here, which has been so good for them. Jesus will have his ultimate ability. This is how they made their bread and butter.
Well, we're going to see what Sani does with this, but this has been one very slow Graviton build, so hopefully the Graviton sells better. No, only gets Meza. Does pull in Zarya right after, but it only results in 1 kill. The Graviton exchange for Meza dying early in this fight does give a lot of momentum here, the Renegades, and getting on top of the point, but compLexity still has the ability to pull us back. Here comes Torque. Tac Visor up, looking for the flanking kill here. Not going to get anything. It wasn't the greatest position for a Tac Visor. Late Graviton out here. Big bang combo. Nicholas gets 3, and he's still in this fight. Oh my goodness. Nicholas might hold us back, but no. Mangachu and the Soldier takes him out.
Gotta get out.
He's out of
He's the only
teammates.
one there.
Yeah,
he's the only one there.
Enough was done.
Well, Reach on the Zarya looks decent here. Here comes a boost in onto Mangachu because it is desperation time. Only seconds to get on the point. He does get on the point. Getting pushed off, though. They have to be very careful of this. Overtime now in full effect. Mangachu will get Tactical Visor, but after the nano has worn off, finding nothing here as the sound barrier will mitigate most of that damage.
It is a brawl onto the point. Renegades, they do get the first kill. Earth Shatter, landing, knocking down 2. Joe Meister out of the fight. 6v4 for Renegades, still protected by the sound barrier. And it's looking like with time ticking down, they're in a very good position now. Turns back to Torque, finding 1 towards the very end. I don't think it's going to be enough this time, as Nicholas does fall. Both TGL brothers out of it, and Renegades, with almost no time left remaining, will be able to get this payload moving. But a lot of defense coming in there from compLexity, in particular. Very high contribution from Nicholas.
Very solid from Nicholas. Those pulse bombs were great. The moment I knew they probably lost this point here, this fight here, is when the pulse bomb came in and did not hit pay dirt, as they've been so reliant on Nicholas doing good work on that tracer. Only 2 minutes added to the clock, 2.5 technically, for Renegades as they try to move through here. Remember that compLexity was able to finish out the map, so now in a bit of a time crunch is Renegades. Can't afford to lose many fights.
Renegades kind of has to go through this and not lose a second fight, but here comes Torque. Tac Visor up, in over the top. It's a little bit rushed here. I don't think he had the best angle on the Renegades, and as a result, nothing happens for this Tac Visor. So compLexity, they throw away a good ultimate. Mangachu now, a counter Tac Visor. Nano boost in, but he also doesn't have the greatest targets immediately. But with Ryan falling, finds Meza, should be able to pick up at least 2 from this. And they do. Gonna get 2, if not 3. Works out here, in large part because compLexity did kind of throw away their own Tac Visor.
Reach will get sweet revenge on the Mangachu, who's been bullying him into the corner, but Jesus does come up and finish off that kill. Jesus is going to preemptively take this high ground here. 1 more fight will get them a second point and another extension. Jesus does have self-destruct available, like I mentioned, a very good part of the map for it. Could use the backstop on the door above where the team's entering right now.
What I want to see here is Reach. What Reach does with this Graviton, or will he fall prey to Jesus's position again? But no, Jesus nowhere close to eat that Graviton. Grav comes in, and it does enough, I guess. It's not a huge Grav, but it does set Nicholas for the Pulse Bomb. Goes into the back. They've picked up 2, now 3 here for compLexity. So this is going to be enough to set back Renegades, and at least gives them the stall they needed, where I think at a minimum they need to get at least one team fight 1 here in second. Now, 2 things. Even if they lose the next one, they have plenty of time to defend last.
Yes.
And they can take this outright with 1 more good defense.
Meza is the man with the plan and Earthshatter in hand right now, trying to stop this team. Juvenile has been an aggressive tank previously. They only get 1 on the ground from that. Safe on the lift is the others, but coming through with the cleanup, Meza and Nicholas combined for 2.
Aggressive from compLexity paying off, and oh my goodness, Meza getting so many with that final swing. Now we are down to the final 15 seconds, and this is where we always ask, can the other team get in the payload? But if they can, look at Torque. He's set up here, going to have a tactical visor, this is rough here because you take a look at Torque's positioning. He's going to be able to hit so many members of Renegades, and Renegades, they can't worry about fishing him out, they just have to get into the payload.
Go ahead.
Torque, using that attack visor in over the top. Doesn't get too much here, but does zone people out and sets up Nicholas for 2 kills. Weakened by Torque. Nicholas is there for the fall through. Final Graviton coming out here from Renegades, but it's probably too little too late.
Great patience there as he was waiting for the sound barrier to dissipate off of the other team. Shields now down. Nicholas and Torque for compLexity cleaning up, and if you're compLexity, those are your signature guys, part of the core 4, as you mentioned. They both had very impactful games at the right points in time. compLexity will take map 1 on Hollywood away from Renegades.
It's interesting to see how this match went down. I don't think either team is particularly at their strongest. I will note that for Saini, who had a very good showing on Zarya the last time we saw him, he was not building Ultimate up anywhere near at the same speed. It was a much rougher game. Also, I think for Reach, if we're going to be evaluating new tryouts, I don't think he's proven himself as, yeah, we want this guy to replace Nesh here so far. I think instead you had, for compLexity, the real movers and shakers there. It was Nicholas and to some degree Torque, but a very good game from Nicholas. And I mean, we've been seeing over and over again here in Overwatch where excellent Tracer play can cure all ills.
Yeah. I completely agree as far as the Zarya tryouts there, but I would say Reach actually had a better Zarya game overall. I think he got more charge. There were a lot of moments where the utility did not look foreign to him. He was able to save a lot of people with allied shields and was able to save himself with shields too, so he looked comfortable on the hero going forward. It's a very small sample size. This is the first time I've ever seen Reach played Overwatch.
No. I think we have a definitive answer. I think that's all we need to say.
Well, the thing is, for small sample sizes, of course, if you were to take Vol in just a 6 Graviton stretch, well, it would be very bad, but clearly Vol worked him way out of that. So we'll see what goes throughout the series going forward. We have a little bit more data on Saini with Renegades, albeit with higher ping, but it is interesting to see the 2 teams develop where they have had these roster changes.
Well, you know what? Coming into this matchup, especially on Hollywood, yesterday we had the Jesus bigger bang that really dominated the game. And in this case, it was a little bit of a smaller bang, and not even necessarily the bangs themselves. But Nicholas on Tracer, he definitely was a very big key to victory. And he's somebody that had to step up. But walk us through like how he was able to contribute to their victory.
Well, a big part with how Nicholas was able to contribute is that Torque was being relatively oppressive from the top. And even when Torque would use Tac Visor and you'd see Renegades rotate around for it, he would still get enough damage that Nicholas would come in from the side, not getting picked off early as often he did in the past, where that would be sort of an Achilles heel of Nicholas. No, Nicholas had good timing on going in and cleaning up on kills where other members of compLexity had set him up for. So the coordination for compLexity was clearly better, and Nicholas had a lot more just disciplined play and not going crazy deep and dying before the fight even began.
Pulse Bomb is one of the more difficult ultimates in the entire game, and that's why you get it so often, is so you can throw some on the ground and still have an impact. But we've talked for a long time about how it's one of the higher skill ceilings, requires a lot of finesse, and it is one of the differences between these top-level tracers. A lot of tracers at this level can get kills, and they can track great, but it's sticking those Pulse Bombs when it matters most, and I think he hit more Pulse Bombs than he missed there. It is an ultimate that most ultimates in this game, you will get some impact out of just hitting Q. Just blindly hitting Q, you'll get impact out of it. Pulse Bomb is not that way. It is a skill ceiling ultimate, and he was nailing them.
He was indeed. Well, we're going into our second map here as compLexity came out strong here on map number 1 of Hollywood, and they're going to be trying to bring that same pizzazz here to the next one, and it is going to be Temple of Anubis, something that we are no strangers to here in map number 2. As Hanamura is, I mean, I don't even remember what it looks like at this point. It's been a little while since we've seen it. But coming into Temple of Anubis, this one selected by Renegades. Let's just talk about Widows real quick. What does the Widow threat look like from these two teams?
Almost not really existent. I mean, I know Saini can play it. He hasn't. Mangachu doesn't play it very often, so your other option would be Jesus. Jesus is a great hit scan player. You'd think he'd be able to adapt to it. On the other side, they've always said that Torque and Nicholas are both their Widow players, but when really pressed about it, Nicholas is the better Widow for this team. Nicholas has a little edge on some heroes. Their pools don't necessarily overlap, so he would be the one to run it for that team. But then I think you put Reach onto another DPS rather than that, so you put him on a Genji instead, so they're running that. It'd be interesting to see options, but I think Widow could possibly come out. I think I'd see it from compLexity probably before Renegades.
You know, it'd be interesting to say. I'm going to hijack this again because it is what the people want, and I'm a man of the people.
I was hoping
Please,
you
can we
would.
see some Orisa?
Yes.
I understand that pro players right now overall are not too hot on her, but please just take the experiment here on Assault. Make us happy. Make me happy. I want to cast some of the brand new hero, and it's not happening here tonight, and I'm a little bit grumpy as a result.
If you want to make some casters happy, that is, show us a little bit more than the thumbnail of that hero's face. We want to see some Orisa here on Temple of News. And if it is going to happen anywhere, many of us have agreed that this is very likely going to be.
Let's just be clear there, Gil. You said for a moment the word help. There is no helping me. I am beyond saving. Let's just get that fully out there.
But yeah, well, you don't need any more help with parallel parking, which is good to know. Well, especially, and to your credit, it's not like you're parking a tiny compact vehicle. That is a van that is worthy of road tripping, a veritable boat that you have to get in there. So the fact that you're now a grandmaster of parallel parking really speaks to your ability to.
I mean, he's got a rear view camera. Let's slow.
Okay,
yeah, I failed the other. First of all, A, cheating. B, I did lose my game the other night. Parallel parking had the stranded out. I'm clearly demoted to platinum at best. Maybe some gold level insight for my parallel parking. Let's just leave it where it is.
Just out of your series. Anyway, well, compLexity, they're up 1-0, and Renegades, they have a lot on the line. If compLexity is able to find victory here, Renegades will, no matter what, be behind compLexity in the standings, and so we're gonna watch them duke it out here on Temple of Anubis.
Well, it is Temple of Anubis, and unfortunately, well, Jesus is showing Orisa here. I'm not going to believe him. I do think he is just a terrible tease. I do like the potential options for Orisa here in terms of throwing people off from positioning, but no. Jesus, unfortunately, going to go to Tracer where he is scarily effective, but also breaking everyone's heart. Thanks for that, Jesus.
Very dive composition coming in. A nice set nade from Shake to start that off. Comes over the top and gives him a little boost in his ultimate charge. Seen set nades on Anubis come in before, but Mangachu, of course, is going to reprise his role onto Pharah. This is the angle a lot of Pharahs take because they know that the targets that they want are going to be on that high ledge. Wow, Nicholas did not need to die there.
Nicholas got caught from a rocket that he had no idea was even on the way. It's a huge pickoff for Renegades, and Mangachu, well positioned, gets another big one. Both TGL brothers down, and this already all but, oh my God! Well, I was saying an O word to begin with, but hey, when Sadie gets just completely hit by that rocket, completely worth.
I will give Juvenile some credit there too, especially on those ladder kills as he came in over the top, forced them down in the hallway. Very easy to hit rockets at point blank range like that, but Mangachu's Pharah looking very good so far, already at 74%. If they do go in here, they might be able to get a res during the fight. Another huge rocket from distance takes down Torque.
Hello, this is Pharah. This is probably her hometown turf. And Mangachu is destroying everyone. Here comes the barrage in over the top. Finds Meza, looking for a little bit more. Gets a little bit more. Finally, the terror is dead. And yet, not for long because the resurrection is there. Mangachu Part 2, Electric Bugaboo. Looking for whatever he can get here. Certainly going to be a dead Tifa getting popped out of that mech. However, there are no ticks gained here yet for Renegades. compLexity's been doing a good job of holding it out, but for how long? do see Sandy. Dragon Blade out, takes down Shake, and now it's going to be the first tick and potentially more.
Shake did come out on the Reaper, which is never a good sign when your main healer has to switch to the Reaper just to try to get out. Mangachu does take down Reach yet again. There goes Nicholas from Mangachu, still trying to get the cleanup. They have gotten 2 ticks. That is the very least that they will get through here on Assault. A nice stall out coming Primal Rage, but stall is not enough. You need to start seeing blue in the left side of that kill feed. Dragon Blade might do it.
Dragon Blade on the way out here from Reach, and no, his Dragon Blade's not going to do it. Mangachu, Barrage punishing him as the blade misses the mark. 2 ticks here for Renegades, but it's getting rougher for them here. They are starting to bleed out more players, more blue on that point than red. But with Jesus still around and Mangachu still up, they could still potentially flip this. Do not discount the burst potential. And they're going to pop the sound barrier, so they are still very much all in on this point. Both teams struggling for dominance.
They're going to be fine here because enough time has passed that Sherlocky should be able to get back into this fight with a resurrection. Now, can he get here in time to save Mangachu, though, is the question, or will he hit the respawn timer?
Here comes the res. That's a big one at that. Everyone back into this fight. They take down Shake immediately. They're not going to have to worry about the Reaper cleanup. Mangachu in the skies was worse. Jesus gets potentially the finisher. 2 killed from that pulse bomb. And Renegades with a beauty of an Anubis attack, unrelenting pressure, and rockets in places where the sun don't shine.
I love the way they staggered the support ultimates there. Everyone got a little bit low, then they used the sound barrier to keep everyone alive-ish, healthy-ish. Then when they went down, it was just timed enough so that they could get the resurrection back in there. A beautiful res, bringing everyone back to life. But I've said it before, and I don't know what it is about this map that brings it out of Mangachu. Hitting rockets the way he does allows him to do so much more work than some of these other Pharahs. Direct rockets, finishing kills, finishing fights. Yes, some of them are only 4 feet away, 5 feet away. Professional Pharahs still miss those rockets sometimes. Mangachu, more often than not when he's on, hits those and then allows him to have 2 rockets in the clip for another target. It's just the efficiency on his Pharah can be mind-blowing.
It was a beautiful sequence of Pharah play. I mean, not only are you getting the initial pickoff you're looking for, where you get Nicholas kind of for free, kind of somewhat random, but then you follow through with a very skill-based kill, and then the flick shot on the Genji, which probably wasn't needed at that point, but was incredibly entertaining. So, well played the Mangachu there. Certainly a masterclass in Pharah. And, you know, compLexity, I understand you just want to toy with my heart here. I don't believe you. I don't believe that the Sororissa is coming out. I want to believe. I want to hear the X-Files theme in my head. I want to see chat fill with the Illuminatis. But as the timer ticks down, we're going to find out. I mean, it's getting closer, but no. The truth is out there, ladies and gentlemen.
And
that's probably where we're seeing
probed. Yep.
That's putting it lightly.
Does feel something like that to commit with the X-Files theme. No Orisa so far this evening.
I'm salty.
You made ZP grumpy and he had Chick-fil-A today. Do you understand how those things are so discordant? It makes him so happy and you ruined it.
I'm going to have a milkshake and Uber's on her, dude. Like, that's it. I'm just checked out. But compLexity coming in on their offense. Torque will be the Widow player here. Not gonna be Nicholas, and Mangachu treats him to the explosive lunch special as both Mercy and Widow going to fall to some very well-placed rockets here from Mangachu.
Well, it's going to be Torque because Nicholas is the better Pharah, and they wanted to run a Pharah here to try to help out with Mangachu, although I don't know if really contesting him Pharah v Pharah right now is the right thing to do. He seems to be pretty dialed in on the Rocket Queen here as he hits an entry rocket onto Nicholas already.
Well, it's a good defense here from Renegades, and defensive Pharah certainly working out. And oh! Okay, the counter snipe from Torque. Fade away headshot. Let's go. compLexity now with the much better ability to get in. Sherlock is down. No second life this time for Mangachu. And compLexity has radically changed the complexion of this attack right now. Renegades getting poked down, and that is going to be all but it. 6-2 left here on the point, and Torque certainly capable of cleaning up the scraps. Renegades might try and get back in here, but it would be very risky if so.
Do you think Torque will stay on this because he's so close to infrared? Yeah, it looks like it. He's already scoping out up front there. That's going to be very nice for them to know where the field is. That way Nicholas can boost in and get this barrage. They are loaded for bear here on this next push.
I think you stand the Widow here because you hope that Mangachu awkwardly looks out and you pop him for free, and if not, you have so many ultimates for the rest of your team that maybe they can't get on you in the back. So I'm fine with him staying on the Widow for now. I think sometimes people switch off Widow too quickly for a second, especially for its power in oppressing respawns as they come in. Nicholas, Barrage already taking down Sherlocky, and Torque gonna be free to go in here and shoot whenever he wants. Nice headshot on the Roadhog, taking down half his health, but the rest of the fight not going so well. Shake is out of it, no resurrection on the table, and for Torque, maybe he gets off of this Widow now.
Not being ultra effective as they've switched over to a much beefier composition. Mangachu's on Winston, Juvenile went over to the Reinhardt instead, even Jesus getting on. I mean, they're running 4 tanks here. It's as strong of a composition. Just as I say that though, Jesus switches. This is the person I would switch off onto the DPS. A defensive tracer on last points of assaults can be great. Volskaya comes to mind as a great map for her as well.
You would find it hard to make a compelling argument to me that Jesus should not be on Tracer whenever you want to run him on Tracer. He's very good at it, even in situations where maybe you wouldn't want to run it. And here comes compLexity. Soundbearer out, here comes Reach. Dragonblade out. Gonna take down Shalaki relatively easily. Looking for a little bit more. Reinhardt serving himself up on a platter. Gets that second kill. compLexity down 2 here in this fight, so it's not great. They're gonna have to do 4 members versus respawns. But this is still doable. They're just gonna have to play this nearly perfectly and take down Renegades one by one as they come back in onto the point.
Well, getting these kills is nice because it means that the reinforcements are going to actually matter. However, losing Joe there is a little bit brutal, especially it being on the Lucio there. Nicholas will come back, take down a support of his own, and Sherlocky, they do not have any progress so far. Now finally getting a quarter of a tick, still nothing to show for it. From compLexity thus far, this Primal Rage knocking everyone off. We'll get a little more, almost their way to a tick.
They're getting closer to a tick, but this is also getting closer into a trap fight for compLexity where they're not getting enough decisively. It's turning into respawn versus respawn, and defenders are generally very much okay with the fight turning into that, and yeah,
It's
compLexity's had enough. Yeah. They're back.
And when you say trap fight, you've elaborated on it before, but it really essentially it seems like a fight that you feel is going your way, but it's absolutely not, and all you're doing is wasting time. You're never going to be able to reach that critical mass to flip it over in your favor. So remaining now, they did not get a single tick on at that point, no progress. Jesus going to get back with his team, and the Renegades now have a ton of ultimates to work with, can use them reactionary. However, so does the offense. We'll see who is at first. Earthshatter comes down, does not find much.
Earthshatter comes in, not as much as you'd like or would like in the situation. compLexity starting to swim into that point, but Reach's Dragonblade only picks up 1 before he gets bopped by Mangachu. And again, I have not been super impressed with the quality of Reach's Dragonblade so far. Not in an era where we see players like Nico come in and consistently get 3-4. Players like Haxel coming in, getting very good value. I feel like you need to be getting more off these Dragonblades, and it just hasn't been happening here for compLexity.
Yeah, you could compare him to some other players in Korean region who are not very good at Dragon Blades, very few and far between. Make your own conclusions as the next fight has begun here. Mangachu has gotten in here and is getting a ton of damage. The cleave, the switch over to the tanks has worked out very well for this team as they continue to just have the sustain on the point that they need. These trades have been coming out, not a decisive fight yet for compLexity here on their push-in attempts. They are banking some ultimates, though. We'll have them all for the next fight. Mangachu has to be careful out here. Slept on the ground. They might be able to clean this up. His team's trying to keep him alive.
Well, compLexity just gets pushed out there pretty readily. Although Mangachu, maybe this has been a little bit too far for Renegades. Suddenly, the wave is pushing back. Many ultimates up here for compLexity. This could turn very bad for Renegades off of what was undoubtedly an overextension coming in. Torque on the tack visor, aided by the Nano, picking up 2. Every kill going the way of compLexity, so Renegades, I feel like they might have made a terrible mistake. They need to get at least 1 kill to entertain the idea of bringing this back, but it's not happening. compLexity smothering on top of this point. They do get the charge kill on to Reach at the very end, but that's all they have right now. And this is going to go from bad to worse soon if they can't get even 1.
The stall out has still been great, though. Still not even a tick on the point as they've just staggered this so well. They're getting fight wins, but it's a great job by Renegades to keep the body on the point. Still not even a tick. This is Reach switching over to Widow.
I'm okay with this coming back in just to deal with respawns when you have an edge. It's not bad, as long as he's able to hit the shots. Does open with 2 headshots. Needs to pile on very quickly here. Instead, gets run right over by Jesus. Now Jesus with 2 pickoffs here. Very much in the ability to bring this back. Holding on to the pulse bomb. Can get a stick, and no, just mows through Joe Meister. I gotta say here, and not trying to pile on, but the only person who died there going into there was Reach. He got caught out by the Aaron Earthshatter, and even just losing 1 can make it that much harder to decisively hold on to a point.
Yeah, they won that fight very decisively early on, but the staggers coming in from Renegades, I just love how they played that. Having lost the fight, they're still putting bodies on the point, and when they're getting someone on there, their only job is to prevent any progress from accumulating. And still, after all of these fights have worked out relatively well early on for compLexity, they've not been able to get any permanent progress on the point. 0 ticks. This is going to be their very last push, likely, and we'll see what they can do. They will have Nano Visor ready.
Mangachu, meanwhile, holding on to the Primal Rage. He's going to use this to just disrupt into the back line, try and make this as uncoordinated for compLexity as possible, but Torque picks up 2 before getting charged right to his death. So still pretty good here for compLexity. It's Nicholas, the big bomb towards very end. Not a big bang. Nicholas making his own opportunities there. As compLexity, again, a great opportunity to at least gain a tick here. Probably their best chance that they have had all attack long. We'll see how much Renegades can stall here once more. The D.Va is back in play, so nothing guaranteed here for compLexity despite how this is open.
Not at all. Nicholas is still looking for a little bit more. Does find that Reinhardt's Juvenile will eventually go down. Self-destruct on the point will scatter everyone. Mangachu able to take down Reach. That is the kill you need to get on defense to start pulling this back in your favor. Sherlocky goes down to Meza, but I think Renegades has gotten enough here to be able to start flipping this back, though Meza's still running wild.
Renegades looking for the W here on Temple Anubis. They just need a little bit more. Mangachu right to the back, going to ruin that tactical visor. Torque getting all sorts of blown up there. Late pulse bomb in from Jesus, and Reach, the final hope with Dragon Blade. Does take down 1, but might have to sell for just that. Going to run into the business end of the Tesla cannon. Eat that peanut butter, Mangachu. You deserve it.
After all is said and done, compLexity will not even get a single tick on their last push, despite some promising looking fights. Not able to do it on Anubis. Their Renegades defense, I just can't say enough about how the stall was working out for them. They were putting people back on the point, but all too often, I feel people come back on the point and try to get kills and look for fights before they can really stall it out, and they just denied getting any sort of permanent progress there, and compLexity goes home empty-handed.
The game coming in here from Sadie.
That was very early. That was their first push that came in, and he wrecked the combo and really shut them down.
And for what it's worth, how many times do we see D.Va play the games that don't involve a gigantic self-destruction involved? Just good positioning from Sadie there. And I think overall, even though I think his Zarya play started out a little bit shaky, you compare his DPS play to his tank play. Maybe it's the ping, we don't know. But his tank play has definitely been above where his DPS play has been here so far.
And I think on the other side, his counterpart, his new counterpart, as well as his flex DPS tank counterpart, I would have to agree with that assessment for him as well. And looking at the side of compLexity, they just seem to be having an issue with the time to kill, and they were just struggling to complete those kills in the end. And it's hard to point fingers without really breaking apart these fights, but I can't help but think part of it might have been that Reach just was struggling on that Genji to find the lightning plays that you have to on second.
What's the best hero on Assault last to push for offense?
Very arguably Genji.
They couldn't run a Genji very well. Reach was not getting the value. It didn't seem like he necessarily wanted to be on Genji. There was that weird one life on Widow that he came up on. Died too early, too often. It's very early to make a decision on it, but it was one of the reasons that the time to kill was long, why they weren't stringing together 2 and 3 kills. I'm not asking for 4 kill Dragon Blades, but you want 2?
I'm thinking back to teams that have been very much the cream of the crop, top of their class. You look at a team like Rogue, you see Nico on Anubis last. Very often, he's not settling for just 1 kill. He's getting 2, 3, 4, sometimes without Dragon Blade. Just off dash resets alone. And I understand that there's different dynamics at play between the two, but I would find it hard to make any argument other than that Reach was not getting enough off of the Genji there for compLexity.
You don't even have to look at teams outside this tournament. Teams that we saw earlier tonight. What you get from Shatter and what you get from Ube and Genji is clearly substantial enough to win Assault maps.
Yeah, and even outside of Blade, you talk about dash resets. Who's better at finishing off low health targets, which ideally, if you're cleaning up just a few kills at the end, I mean, you can get a couple of good dashes, and that's how you start getting ticks. But they were struggling, even after 1 fights, to get anything. And part of that definitely goes over to Renegades and a good delay. But I want to go over and talk about Mangachu before we go into our next map, because he does play fair, doesn't he? And he really showed us how it's done there with some key rockets. I also want to talk about Sherlocky. That was almost as textbook a resurrection on second into a taking of the point that I've ever seen.
It was very good both on offense and how they were running through, converting kills and not feeding kills away. But I think the better part for Renegades there is that say whatever you want about compLexity's DPS. Moving on to the good parts done by Renegades. Renegades was able to stall that out very effectively when people like Nicholas did break things wide open and had what very well should have been a take. Renegades, in terms of staggering, throwing heroes back onto a point intelligently, not all at the same time, and waiting for someone like Jesus to come in and pull them back into it, they played it very intelligently.
Yeah, another case in point in that is their last push when you only had 2 alive and they started playing more defensively. They weren't necessarily going for kills. You had Mangachu hiding up top. And then when they started to get low, Mangachu was looking for a pack. They got sound barrier, knowing that if we can just keep us alive long enough to die within the window of a resurrection, then I'll be back up. The communication looked like it was coming to bear there for Renegades, which is a great sign for them.
Well, it's all tied up at 1-1 now, and we're going into our third map, and that, of course, is going to be Control Point, and we're going to be going on to Nepal. This one's selected by compLexity, and once again, we're on Nepal, no stranger to it, but we haven't seen as much Pharah the last couple of times. With how Mangachu is playing today, I can't help but think they want to bring him here. On Pharah, that is.
You would think. We didn't see it from them as much as you would have liked. Going back into yesterday, I hope that they have probably learned from that. And also, again, I mean, why not challenge compLexity here, where make compLexity prove within the map that they can deal with the Pharah effectively. Don't sit there and just let them get away for free. Now, compLexity did deal with the Pharah reasonably effectively back on Hollywood. That's true. But I would still test them at the very least at the beginning, particularly when you take a look at how it went down on Anubis, where the Pharah was utterly suffocating in terms of how well it was played.
I would agree. That's always been an issue with compLexity, almost to the point where it's become a joke. Run Pharah till they prove they can stop it, but it's been that way for nearly a year now, so it's been an issue for them. ZP may want to see Orisa. I'm a simple man. I just want a little Junkrat in my life. We are on Nepal. It's possible, maybe.
I don't think I'm physically strong enough to flip this desk or even a chair.
Oh, I don't know.
But if we see Junkrat and we don't see an Orisa, I feel like I have every born right to cause some level of physical destruction. Well, I don't know. I will poke Hex somewhat softly.
We'll bring you a pinata.
Yeah, I was going to say, legend tells of a young ZP and some pinata struggles there that, well, I guess we're still here.
Those were always my favorite videos on Funniest Home Videos, is the dad messing with the kid, pulling the pinata up, and the kid missing the pinata and hitting the dad.
Where usually is that bat landing on the dad?
Right in the stones.
Right in the stones.
Hans Mole Man gets hit by football.
It's a great film. Great film. I have it on Laserdisc. Well, we are going to start here on Nepal, and it is Sanctum first. My dreams dashed. ZP's dreams have never been born yet, as we have yet to see Orisa, very standard from both sides. Oddly enough, it will be...
You can throw people into a pit with Orisa here. Let's just be very clear. But either way, we are getting a more standard shield versus shield battle, and Meza with the charge. High risk, high reward. Find Sherlocky early on here, and we'll see how this plays out in the rest of the fight. Juvenile punishing Meza in turn, so 5v5, but less healing here for the side of Renegades as they are down Sherlocky early on.
Torque still looking for a little bit. Did hit a hook earlier, unable to complete the kill, but Jesus will end up going down. Sani will take out Joe Meister in turn. They find a Reinhardt in the corner, does Torque. Nicholas will fall to Mangachu extremely back and forth, but it is Renegades who will take first control of the point. Jur with a finishing kill there, able to keep his team alive, gonna rotate back in.
That's very far out in that charge. He does get Zarya bubbled, still very much in this, but could have been a little bit more riskier. Both teams trying out here on the point, but Renegades coming out a bit ahead. And see Torque come back in here for compLexity on the Roadhog. And we'll see if we get any hooks into the pit here. But Reach, he's built a very fast Graviton. Now let's see if he can convert.
He's got a lot of energy as well. Nicholas has given up the Pharah immediately. He will go on to Tracer instead. Already found some purchase in Sherlocky in the back lines. They need to be able to get to Sherlocky. It's a great map for an Ana. Even before she was a must-run every map, this was a good one for her because of the distance she can keep from teams, the artificial gravity in the middle there.
Here comes Soundbearer in from Renegade Sani. Moving to the back, looking for anything. Gets slept, bionated, and thrown into the trash. You cannot get a lesser effective Dragon Blade as Mezar right now. Moving in off the Earth Shatter, gets nano boosted. And it's going to be 3 kills here for compLexity. And I know I said Mezar, but it's actually Meza.
I don't know how anyone could possibly blame you. Those names are very similar. They will put bodies on the point to try to just trade lives for percentage points. Ends up at 61 for Renegades here as compLexity took that, and they took it without having to use Graviton, as Reach is still holding on to that. So Renegades will be looking to come in. Jesus has his Destruct, as does Mangachu have his Graviton.
Reach has to be careful. Jesus is very good at eating Gravitons. Here comes Graviton in from Renegades. Comes out right away, and Reach doesn't even get a chance to use his Graviton. Bopped immediately into this fight. Torque gonna try and neutralize this Earth Shadow somewhat with the whole hog, and might be working here to buy some very important time here for compLexity. They're still in control of the point, and Renegades pushed back somewhat as a result.
It's very back and forth. Zany, though, will come in and get Shake as they lost track of him over the top. Now they're going to use their position to get back in here. Zany with a nice Genji life so far, getting a lot of damage and will bully down that Roadhog as Jesus comes in and helps him finish. They should be able to flip this back.
You would think. Reach is still in and around, and nope, Reach is dead. Good for him that he didn't throw the Graviton into nothing there, and Zany able to, with the rest of our games, they take this point. He's able to save the Dragon Blade for the next fight, but Big Bang combo is on the way. Let's see how Reach is able to land this as compLexity starts this next approach.
Well, there's two parts that can be affected by the Diva vacuum here. Can the Grav get in? And then when you're trying to Pulse Bomb, it's very likely that Jesus will Defense Matrix if he's caught inside the Graviton. Already a Sound Barrier coming out. The Grav does catch forward.
The Grav connects, and there's a bang! Nicholas taking down 3. Just when you think the Graviton isn't going to land, it lands in the biggest way possible. Nicholas right there with the follow-through.
About as clean as it gets combo-wise there. Grav landing, bomb comes in the back, able to avoid all the potential pitfalls, all the things that can go wrong setting up that combination, and they are rewarded for it. However, Renegades will have a Nano Blade ready. Zany has had his best life on Genji so far, only gets the blade. There comes the boost as he gets in. Slash, that's 2 kills quickly.
2 quick kills from Zany, a much better Genji showing from him here so far, and Renegades casually gonna bring this right back, and they're at 89%, so compLexity, oh my goodness, Nicholas picks off 2 at the Pulse Bomb, piles on. Renegades was looking very good momentum-wise here, and they still might be, but Nicholas has made this far more in contest than it has any right to be here. And here comes compLexity, able to filter back onto that point, and Renegades might get pushed back.
It's very possible. Nicholas has used his cooldowns to great effect just to keep them off of the point. The rewind was great, allowed his team to get back on here and try to contest. Zany will take down Nicholas eventually, but now it is all compLexity. Grab comes out, no follow-through.
The follow-through just not there. I mean, it was a panic Graviton, no one else was there. I guess you try and do something here. Last moment effort coming out here from Renegades. Did Mezzo just charge into the pit? I know the boom came at the end, but it kind of looked like he was heading there anyways.
Possible. Here comes the whole hog. Defense Matrix will eventually dissipate. Diva's got to get back on the point. Jesus does save the point for the most part right now, trying to get some Bunny Blaster work. He's not long for this world. compLexity will bring it back off of the back of Nicholas, who had a monster game.
Really good stuff from Nicholas. Also, credit where credit's due. Good self-control and Reach not to throw away the Graviton.
Yeah.
Of course, we weren't looking from his point of view, but surely he was going back and forth, just really waiting for that moment there where Jesus was looking for the Diva eat there, and unfortunately for Jesus, he goes hungry this time.
No loaves and fishes on the menu there. Jesus did a good job on the Diva trying to get back in there, but I think you are doing yourself a disservice if you keep him off of the Tracer. There are heroes that transcend meta picks, players that transcend meta picks. Jesus is Tracer, one of them, and it would also be a good job to try to deal with how good Nicholas has been on the Tracer, but they will switch some things up. We'll see what Reach has on his Tracer this time, as they will run triple DPS. The other side also running a Pharah, but they're going to support their Pharah with a Mercy as well, so that will be a battle taking place in the skies.
So both teams going to trade out here on the Shrine as Mangachu very far up into the air. In versus Nicholas. Now, we've seen Mangachu get baited back before here, but this time executes Nicholas against the wall. Pharaoh Supremacy coming out here now, looking for the second kill. Torque not able to sprint away. Surgical for Mangachu. Got the 2, now 3 kills you needed to get in the situation, and should be Renegade's point relatively easily.
Yeah, I don't see anything that could bring this back for them now. They have nothing to deal with Mangachu in the sky. Sure, Locky getting pressured down in the back, but that is only briefly. As Mangachu flips the switch, goes back on, and now you get all the free poke damage. When you control the point with Pharah, it is glorious because you're just gonna be feeling very safe. Your your Mercy rather is never going to be in position to get hurt, and you're getting all this free damage and working his way towards a barrage, looking for a boop over here if anyone oversteps their bounds.
Oh,
wow.
Goodbye. My God. That. Very good flick, and he piles on the barrage. He wasn't done yet. Let's just, really not done yet. Mangachu with the team kill. And you, what?
Get it. Get one more.
Please. I can't handle this. And to think he wasn't playing this yesterday.
It's just insanity. It is his best hero. He is putting his name in the hat for best Pharah in Overwatch. Not only North America, because he puts on some performances like this. It's becoming regular. It's becoming regular to see Mangachu's Pharah like this.
It's very good indeed. Now looking for that cleanup. Shake immediately taken out of the fight. Oh no.
The middies!
Oh, the double flick on the Nicholas. This is a show. Mangachu putting on another 4.
This is explicit.
We are witness.
Well, Mangachu, I think his Pharah is pretty good. I wonder why he doesn't run it a little more often. This has been a masterclass in it. It could be coming to an end shortly as Torque will finally have Assault Visor and looking for an angle to get on Mangachu. It should be the answer to it. Hopefully he's going to try to get over the right side. He does pop it.
Nano Visor coming in. Sound Baron not going to do as much. Mangachu's still in here.
No, he's not dead. He's not dead.
He used it for cover. The threat is not over. This is our Hollywood movie. We're just entering Act 3. Juvenile going the crunch Torque towards the back. Mangachu back into the fight, using the pit as cover. 5 versus 5, still at the point. Sherlocky is down. There won't be a res again here for Renegades. And yet they're still winning this relatively decisively. Nicholas, a barrage of his own, and we'll start turning this back a little bit. 4 kills here for compLexity, and now it's looking like they're going to take this back, but plenty of time for Renegades to recap and take the round with ease.
But think about it, that was nearly the first fight we saw from compLexity. They had been getting bullied back so hard that they finally got to fight once out in the open and use other ultimates at this entire stage. Other side of things, Sherlocky and Mangachu both with ultimates up. Jesus could also win this by himself with a Pulse Bomb. compLexity had to use everything just to get out. And now looking to take it back is Renegades. There is Mangachu.
Oh my God, got two already. Looking for another. Shake, not able to get away. The barrage has the finisher. Mid-air rockets, not a problem. I'm done. Done. Just like Torque there.
I'm just
done.
You know my Pharah bias anyway. I could not be happier. This Mangachu display is making me feel funny. Something like love. I got butterflies in my stomach. That was simply beautiful. A master class on Pharah. I just don't know why he doesn't run it all the time. Just run it all the time. And I think you do it regardless of what maps you go on, no matter what, against compLexity. They have shown they have no answer for this.
It is something when he reduces commentary literally to just random exclamatory phrases about how well that's being played.
There's no need to comment. The proof
at
is,
that point, the play speaks for itself.
Yeah.
We really had very little to add on.
Mangachu's Pharah trying to put us out of a job here. As Mangachu will remain on that Pharah, of course, and Sherlocky will take to the skies with him, keeping him nice and healthy. compLexity has given up the ghost on trying to deal with this. They will come off of the Pharah of their own and not even running too much hit scan. I think going with the Roadhog here can work. The skybox is a little lower in some of these situations. They missed the hook early on to Mangachu, though.
Mangachu's gonna have to work a little bit harder on the stage. This is probably the least Pharah-friendly stage here on Nepal, even compared to other stages. But for now, still damage boosted, looking for poke, but it's less effective here. Renegades is losing ground. Ooh, not anymore. Mangachu at the fall through after Jesus' Pulse Bomb. 3 people going the fall. Just when you think compLexity might be winning the ground war, well, Jesus bringing down the shield and Mangachu bringing down the house.
This is a very real fight over play of the game because I'm not sure who got it there, but one of them did.
I mean, honestly, that just felt like Hearthstone BM. To be real.
Yeah, I played too much Hearthstone to find that entertaining. They are going to take control of the point, already nearing 20% for the side of Renegades. compLexity still searching for an answer for Mangachu, and if you get that answer, you still have to deal with Jesus's Tracer, but they will just rotate back themselves onto the point and cap it largely for free. Mangachu playing above this Roadhog, doing so much damage, already very low. Does he have the follow-up on the point? They will sound barrier somewhere in here as well, and Mangachu fighting too close in quarters, but the res comes in.
The res comes in, and Mangachu immediately taking down Torque, trying to get into the air, and no, his air permit denied. Not able to get out. Raoton comes in for compLexity, and the closer quarters of the village definitely being a little bit better for them in letting them execute sheer hockey.
It's extremely smart what they're doing to run tank heavier and then rotate into the place with the roof.
Yes.
That's just not allowing Mangachu the free reign over top. This is even fine too, and I actually like that they're hugging the building here because if they sense a threat, they can also just rotate down exactly what they're doing now. But it denies Mangachu any sort of poke because D.Va's there to eat all the rockets as well. So it's a good adjustment from compLexity. If you can't kill the Pharah, at least don't let Pharah kill you.
Well, going to this fight, Mangachu does have the barrage. Gonna have to look for a better opportunity, and he goes for the quick one. Tries to get in the Rhine and finds reach instead. 5 versus 5, but he falls for the opportunity, gets slept, gets removed. And again, Pharah is much more questionable here on Village. For as good as Mangachu has been, for how entertaining as his Pharah has been.
No, she's great on Village if you have control of the point. The problem was they gave up point for free when the tanks rotated onto it.
I would probably like to see a swap here, as sacrilege as that may be. Oh!
I'll take it as ZP is now just as happy as possible. I've never heard you make that noise before. Here comes Juvenile as he sets down. Here is Orisa.
The fusion driver now in play. Shield going down. Gonna send that secondary fire, grouping people up. Juvenile gonna get knocked to the ground. No! Farewell, Orisa. It was nice knowing you.
I barely knew thee.
Well, that fight going much more in favor of compLexity. Earthshatter, unfortunately, doing too much work there. Orisa, please come back.
Baby, come back. They're trying everything here as it's been all compLexity since they took control of that point. And I fear it was just a mental lapse to let them walk in on the point. They backed onto it with their tanks, took it uncontested, and Pharah is in a completely different situation when the point is owned and you have to take it, especially on that stage, than it is when you're able to just be in the sky doing all sorts of damage. So we'll see what the next stage will be here. Well, of course it's going to be.
Please stay on that beautiful centaur omnic robot woman. Whatever you want to call her. I don't even know. However, I'm going to say that...
You just assumed a lot, ZP. How dare you assume?
Look, I'm hoping I'm right, and no, Orisa has left us. But first recorded Orisa in competition. There's that. He has the title. One thing I'm going to note here is that it almost doesn't feel right that after that ridiculously dominant round that we saw just a little bit before on Shrine, that Renegades is actually on the verge of losing this map.
Yes. But this is a good draw for them.
It is.
So this was the stage that Mangachu put on the masterclass of Pharah. They have to know this, so they're sticking on the 4 tanks here, which is, if you can't kill the Pharah, it's a good response to it. At least increase your health pools and try to get something going. Eventually, a Pharah will be able to whittle this down, but they're hoping that they can win the ground war before she becomes super effective.
Well, they're trying to win the ground war, but Mangachu already doing a lot of damage in over the top. Now focusing more on Roadhog, which perhaps a little bit more of a mistake, takes a lot of his time and gives time for Reach to come in and burn him down when his jets inevitably lead him more down to terra firma.
So Nicholas is still on the anti-Pharah duty here. You saw the reason that Hog took forever to live was because he got a Matrix through him towards the end there, and Nicholas doing a lot of work, will be desuited now, trying to get in a pistol duel, but shot from behind by Jesus. So the rest of Mangachu's team picking up the slack here as they try to get something going. First take did go to compLexity early in this fight. Mangachu back in on the Pharah, finds a target. They will flip it back over, yielding only 15%.
And with control, this is where Renegades was so dangerous on the Pharah. Many good angles taken by Mangachu, just devastating poke from afar. We'll see if he can keep up that level of performance. Well, now he's going to take a nap and just slowly slide off the rooftops in the saddest moment possible. So that's going to create an opportunity, at least for compLexity, to find a way through here. But Mangachu, right here, in over the top, holding on to that barrage. D.Va actually giving him some degree of trouble in how he wants to initiate this, so he has to rotate around a lot, and Justice reigns right into the defensive matrix. Gets very little done. D.Va neutralizing Mangachu and giving a lot more opportunity to compLexity here on the point. That said, Meza out of this, 5 versus 5. Mangachu has to find a way of playing this back, though. He's getting neutralized and targeted.
It's been rough for him as well. You're absolutely right. The D.Va's doing such great work against him. I want to give compLexity props for their rotations that have come in. Fight still going on, though. Sound barrier down. Sani will activate that self-destruct, and now the kills are coming in for Renegades. And during that, compLexity was not able to get control of the point. A late pulse bomb will come in, take down Torque. Reach happened to be in the wrong place, wrong time, and now the tanks will fall.
No one told Reach that the buddy system and holding Roadhog's hand was a bad idea. Now, you'd probably think that holding Roadhog's hand as a general rule would be a bad idea, but he's actually a pretty compassionate guy.
Yeah, I would tend to agree there. compLexity, though, I mentioned the great rotations. They're all behind the shield. They're not letting Mangachu get in and get this poke.
Well, here comes Renegades, reinforcing this point. compLexity trying to hold it back right now. And Torque looking for this hook. Ground war definitely being focused on here by compLexity. Renegades just holding them back. Meza going to get that first pick off as Mangachu back to the skies once more. Gets that early kill, and now looking around. Sound barrier going to stop him here a little bit, but for how long? Getting kill after kill. Here comes the barrage, but the defensive matrix and Zarya take him out of the equation. So compLexity not quite out of this yet.
Nicholas has done such a great job of just ghosting Mangachu. Wherever he goes, that's where Nicholas goes as well. He is playing the spy on him all over them. Mangachu finding a very difficult time finding the angles, and a frustration barrage comes down and gets very little.
And at this point, Nicholas might know Mangachu's favorite food, and it's been really good, his ability to just stop him in the situation. It's definitely been a tale of two rounds compared to the last time we were on Shrine. Next fight, though, underway. Torque landing that hook in the Winston, makes it a double kill, moving in and around. Rez is going to come up, redoing it, but here comes a Holog. Going to be pushing things back here once more, and compLexity not yet giving up on this point despite the resurrection. In fact, pushing back a lot of Renegades here.
Well, they did grab Shake somewhere in this, so that should be helpful for them as the Ana now down, but Sherlocky goes down in turn. compLexity has control of this fight as Sherlocky and Juvenile down. Mangachu, the only one up, will take down Meza, I'm sorry, now I'm doing it, but Reach as well. So Mangachu back into this, but he meets his nemesis in Nicholas, who takes him out of the sky.
Nicholas has been the cure. He's been stopping Mangachu from getting any of the kills that he's been looking for here. And I do wonder when Mangachu gets off the Pharah, because as good as it was, the D.Va has been a relatively hard counter to it in this particular situation. compLexity still with momentum on that point. Sound barrier could seal the deal and give them the map. Renegades now in very tough shape.
Absolutely, Mangachu goes down 91, 92%, and that is a full team kill coming out there. The only one who is alive, maybe able to get back on the point, will be Juvenile, but that is one going into 6, and this is it. compLexity finds an answer for Mangachu, the answer being Nicholas's D.Va, unconventional, but he had him spied at every angle, every doorway, able to get almost no damage.
And to top things off, we don't even see a play of the game from Mangachu, despite the heroics that were going on.
Well,
no justice in this world.
I'm fine with Nicholas getting it for whatever he wants, because he was the MVP of that map particularly. You saw him on the Tracer doing work, but really the pick onto the rotation onto the tanks and the D.Va shutting him down at all times. It's like when you put a linebacker on a mobile quarterback. You just go where he goes. Don't let him beat you, and you had every angle on him. It was beautiful.
I think if there's anything to be taken here from Pharah and what we've been seeing from recent games overall across Overwatch, I don't think you can rely only on Pharah. I think she can catch teams off guard very heavily. You can force compositional change-ups, absolutely. But there's probably a time where if a team is counter-comping you that hard, no matter how good your Pharah is, you probably need to let it go and then swap up and then swap back when it's proper.
Sure.
But I think you can make the argument that the Pharah has probably played too long here.
If you can play a Pharah like that, you can, as you mentioned, force them into a composition which is more favorable to you than to counterpick as well. So there is a lot of value out of it. But the stubbornness of Mangachu's Pharah, we see why he can run, why he loves running Pharah, right? We see why he stays on it too long, because brilliant play. But at some point, it's just not working. And down 2 stages to 1, you have to make that switch off. at any time, but also earlier in the match.
And I want to call out Jesus because there were a few plays that he was able to make, especially when that adjustment had been made on the other side there for compLexity. But with compLexity firing at all cylinders like they were with that composition, especially once they got the wheels turning, it was very difficult to deal with. And this has been a theme we've been talking about this entire event is for a while it was how do we deal with Jake's Pharah? How do you deal with Mangachu's Pharah? And a few people had a few answers. But the fact that compLexity was able to adapt that quickly, I've got to give it to him. And Nicholas, definitely the MVP, I think, there for that map.
Well, here's the problem now. Remember that there are more things at stake than just the fate of this match. Liquid, if they want to have a chance of bringing things back here in the OCS, well, they need Renegades to do what Renegades is not very good at doing, which is winning a series in 5. That's the only path to victory here for Renegades now. So, and it's also the only path for survival for Team Liquid. So Renegades, for not only their own sake, but also Team Liquid's sake, is going to have to come out with a much stronger map 4 and 5 and deal with compLexity. Otherwise, not only is Renegades potentially going to get a much lesser seed, but if you're a fan of Team Liquid, it will be over.
It will be over. And for a team that has given us so much hope so many times, well, I guess it wouldn't be a true Liquid if you're using it in the verb sense. If that were to be the case. But right now, compLexity making a big case for just that, as Dorado is going to be the next map. We saw it earlier today, and we've seen how polarizing this map can be. I mean, we've seen people holding on first, and we've seen people taking it through to all the way to third, but it's a very gradient map as far as that's concerned.
You can hold a team right outside their gate. You can hold them in courtyard. There's a lot of places where the defense can stop them on the map. I think more than any other, we've seen every variation of this map going all the way to the end and then holds in every certain place. It's not a defined 1, 2, 3 necessarily, because there's 2 parts to 1, 3 parts to 2, 3 parts to 3.
I would say overall for Dorado, you probably see more holds on first and third than you do on second. I feel like teams, it does happen, don't get me wrong, but I do feel like second point holds are probably the most rare between the 3.
Early second point holds for sure, but second point holds where the defense has both those high grounds we've seen a little more often.
If they're able to take advantage of it.
I would be curious on the actual full breakdown of that, because maybe it's just the first point holds are more prolific by comparison.
Yeah, no, and I think, boy, and I wish I had statistics on this now, but I would agree that if I had to choose, if I was a betting man, I would say first point and third point probably more often. But we have seen quite a few holds with that high ground, and it comes down to these team compositions and the meta a little bit. And so I'll be curious to see how these teams play on here. Renegades, of course, choosing this one as they went down to compLexity on Nepal, now down 2-1 in the series, and they have to win both of these next matches if they are going to turn things around. And yeah, their backs are up against the wall, and we talked a little bit about some of the playoff implications for Liquid, but obviously this one also has implications for both of these teams. compLexity, they could really turn around what we expected as a very poor showing from them earlier on in the season to potentially even have a shot at second seed coming out of this one, but they will at the very least solidify a third place seed if they're able to find victory here, as they would be ahead in a tiebreaker.
Well, and third is just about as good as second here, because second place, third in this case, it's really, you don't want to be in the 4 spot where you get to go against LG Evo, who, despite some recent struggles in recent times, definitely the least favorable of the 4 playoff teams that you would want to fight in the very beginning.
I think some of these teams are probably hoping, you know, not beyond just their own seeding, that Immortals gets that 4 seed. I said yesterday that I think Immortals probably the team that matches up best against LG Evil, has taken a set off them in recent history. So here we are back on Dorado. I think we've covered the Piñata topic. You ever been to Mexico? Which I say as Mexico because I've been there once.
No.
It's nice. You should go. I mean, it's one of the border, you know, it's one of the United States cousins. Go before
really,
the wall goes up.
Honestly, I just blame my parents there. My dad was in the Air Force. We used to travel all around the world. Never went to Mexico.
Huh. Well, road trip. I mean, we got the van here.
We do have the van. I mean, we're not really close to the border, but hey. Make a time of it, a few days.
Due south indeed. We'll see what they want to run. I would be surprised if Renegades does not run the Pharah. It's a good map for it, and we've seen what Mangachu can do on the Pharah. Also much more difficult to completely shut down a Pharah with a D.Va, but compLexity is running the composition that did shut down that Pharah. They had Nicholas on the D.Va here, and then 3 more tanks, so quad tank for compLexity is the answer they're trying to run to Renegades. It did shut them down on control. Renegades going to be running triple DPS into this. We'll see who ends up winning. A concussion blast early on does not dislodge the Reinhardt necessarily. No kills so far in this dive.
This is a lightning fast attack. Jesus already on the high ground. Mangachu supporting. You don't get a quicker dive than this, and the follow through certainly there. Every rocket connecting. Mangachu in over the top. It's 2 lightning fast kills here, and compLexity in real trouble here early on. Don't think this is going to be much of a first point defense here. I mean, technically they can get back in, but Renegades, there's no brakes on this train. They're going in even deeper.
This is why the combo is so great. If you get those early kills, you can sit up here and simply knock them down. They have to wait for shielding. They do have a lot of tanks who are going up there, but look at this. This is absolutely just free. They're bullying them out. Hook is on cooldown now. No worries at all. He's going to be able to set up for a barrage if he wants. If they do rotate over, going to come in over the top looking for a barrage angle.
Well, here comes the barrage in over the top. Picks up 1, looking for the second. Going to crack right through that Reinhardt shield. The Reinhardt still up and around in this case, but every kill going the way of Renegades. If they didn't get this here, if this turned around, it would be a huge disaster. And Mangachu, uncharacteristically, not able to finish off this Lucio. Finally gets on the Joe Meister and gets a flick rocket right on to Nicholas. Do believe compLexity is giving this one up.
They do have to change compositions, and they will, because your 4-tank composition is not going to work in this wide open space up here, especially if you want to hold high ground. They will put Torque onto the 76 instead, trying to be the answer to Mangachu, or at least the dissuading pressure, something to make him uncomfortable. Sani is going to be the one who's going to be poking up over the sides. They're now looking for a flank. He's just going to cover the flank as I think he smelled something going on over here. They will also add in Reach on McCree. Reach has not been ultra impressive tonight in his debut so far. Still looking to find the hero that he opens eyes on. Maybe it's going to be the McCree.
Meanwhile, on the ground war here, Jesus taking down Nicholas. Tracer battle. Gives a special delivery here to Winston. Still alive, surprisingly enough. Meza still in this. Gets healed up at the very end. He has no health left. The sound barrier saves him at the last moment. Actually, him staying alive baits a few people back in, and compLexity may be able to turn this fight. It's hard because Mangachu's still alive going into the back, but he's lost a lot of his ground forces supporting him.
Well, he's going to get a couple kills at the very least. Dunked on Reach and then was able to take down Joe Meister, so the reinforcements are going to be slower to come back into this fight at the very least. Only Nicholas up with a couple of other people. They are getting more kills into this as the fight continues to be brawly. Sherlocky will have resurrection for this next fight. Defense rotating around, taking this time to set up on the high ground, making it much more difficult. Mangachu's going to have to jump up here, and he's going to be jumping into double hit scan. Well, triple hit scan, technically.
On the top, we do see the sound barrier coming in from Renegades, and they're going to dive in using this, and Mangachu gets immediately bopped. The tactical visor does not care about your sick tunes. 2 kills here from compLexity, and ouch. Reach showing us some
looks good
unseen prowess here on the McCree. Resurrection does come in from Renegades. We'll see if they have the position to deal with it, but Sherlocky just gives Reach more fuel for the fire. Could even have a finishing Deadeye here. It's been a nice run for Reach in over the top.
Yeah, he seems very at home on this McCree. Those are some nice hits, headshots to eliminate people, double tapping the Mercy as she comes up. A nice couple of hits on a Mangachu. Doesn't finish the kill, unfortunately, something he would like to have back, but enough to dissuade Mangachu to get out of there.
A little bit of style coming out from Reach here as he moves around the different windows. Just really just playing with his high ground, just taunting life to let him fall to the ground.
You gotta have fun. You gotta have fun. You're playing games. So a celebratory flashbang. Mangachu is coming in to look for Reach. I think he's identified a major problem. Does get a nice angle here, able to pepper in all this damage with the peek through the window. Getting a lot of damage going on, forcing compLexity back into the corner. Now they're getting dived on, but Juvenile goes down first.
That's tough. Juvenile, the rest of the team was not with him here. Still at 5v5 as Nicholas gets picked up a little bit early, but it's high noon. Down goes Sherlocky. No resurrection on the menu this time. Late Dragon Blade coming out here by Sani. It's very quiet Genji game for him, but Mangachu not quite at all. Rockets coming in. Give me 3 kills between the two of them. Payload starting to move forward, and yet still members of compLexity up here in the delay. It's not as decisive for Renegades as they would have liked.
Now, it should have been more decisive. They had 3 kills, but there was still a squadron over here on the cart trying to get a lot of work done. They will stall it out from getting the next checkpoint. Now, Juvenile is on here trying to knock people down. He will get slept. Primal Rage going down to sleep there. Nicholas comes back on the Tracer, gets a couple of kills, demeching the Diva. Torque chimes in. compLexity's going to hold this easily.
Reach getting a little bit of cleanup there, and I gotta say, of all the heroes that Reach has played tonight here, it does feel like the McCree has been the most promising thus far. Conversely for Saini, I don't think this has been a very impactful Genji setup. I mean, we were focusing heavily on Mangachu, and Mangachu's had enough. He's going to 76. Reach on the McCree, plus the rest of compLexity and just pressuring, has done enough to get him off that Sky option.
Right, but if we're going to give Saipe a pass because of the focus going on Mangachu's support style, we have to do the same for Saini. Maybe we'll get something more now as he's got an Ana and a Lucio to help him out. They're off of the Mercy, so Jesus going to come in, has self-destruct here, just poking around, trying to keep all of these angles. Self-destruct can be great here to clear out the cart. They just need a few more meters to get to the checkpoint.
Jesus holding on to that self-destruct. It's been very good for him earlier in the week. Reach, though, in the back, holding on to the Deadeye, looking for the kill, finds Saini out pretty much for free. And now, he has the ability to Deadeye. We do have the self-destruct coming in here from Jesus. Doesn't connect, but reaches out of the fight. Mangachu takes him down from long range. 5 versus 5. But Nicholas, fight is breaking down. This is where Tracer can do a lot here on the payload. Mangachu needs to switch targets to deal with this. Otherwise, Nicholas is going to rip things apart as he picks up another.
He has been very focused on trying to get Shake down, but Shake is holding his own in this duel despite his lower damage on the Ana now, using his self-healing to stay in this fight. And Mangachu still alone up top on the point. Healing still coming in, though, from Shake as that target has never been finished. Nicholas will go down to Mangachu. Now Reach is on Mangachu duty, if you will. Doesn't find anything. He could set up a huge Deadeye here, as desperation time means they're going to have to rush the cart.
Final chance here for Renegades. Dragon Blade and Nano Boost on deck. You gotta think that they're gonna be going into this upper left part, dealing with Reach. Here comes a Deadeye and a Sound Barrier. Happy little skulls abound. And then a Diva right in Reach's face. So not quite how you want to say high noon there. Nicholas still up and around, but this is gonna be a tall order for him to delay this out. The initiation for Renegades pretty dominating here. Saini picks up 2 towards the very end.
Electric Monkey not enough there. Saini will grab those couple kills, as you mentioned, so a lot of ultimates thrown at that desperation time, and it's pretty telling that they felt Reach was the problem. They were throwing a lot at him to get him off of the McCree. Once they did end up isolating him, he goes down. He's going to switch off of the McCree now onto Zarya instead. A couple of tanks now in this composition. Torque and Nicholas, of course, will stay on their DPS roles.
Renegades now looking to make up for lost time. Only a minute remaining, so they have very little margin for error here in this situation. Saini under oppression by the Winston, backs out, gets killed by the Ana. Renegades still in very good health in here over the top of compLexity, overextending a little bit. Meza falling without much support, and Renegades punishing. Down goes Nicholas. Saini, much better opening here, was able to live, comes back out, and now we'll see if we can get a little bit more here from the side Renegades. They lose Juvenile, but they still have some degree of advantage.
Well, they're just going to take the free push and go under the archway with this cart, absolutely uncontested. Nicholas will come back in, as will Reach. That is 2 kills. His self-destruct will come up over top, trying to bring this fight back for them. Saini still has the Dragon Blade out. Joe goes down back and forth, but compLexity still has 4 up here on the defense, while respawns will be slow coming here. That's why Mangachu is going to go down to his hidey hole waiting for the reset.
I gotta say, compLexity would be good WoW Raiders. The way everyone just immediately sees the big glowing flash in the sky and goes to hide behind cover, they would not get blown up by bombs, let me tell you.
Well, Mangachu's got Tactical Visor. They have to get someone in here on the cart. They will get a push towards the last second as the Winston jumped over top. Beautiful grab.
Big bang on the way. Nicholas picks up another 3. Well set up there by Reach. Nicholas gets the fall through necessary, and that bang going to spell an end to the Renegades push here, but getting the payload this far on Dorado, in a vacuum, it's actually pretty good.
Yes.
You don't always see teams finish out Dorado. Given the context of the first point attack by Renegades and how lightning fast it was, somewhat disappointing for them that they're not able to finish out the map.
Absolutely. You have to give a lot of credit to Reach, though, as he slowed down Mangachu's Pharaoh to a great extent. Also, it knocked down Saini's Genji a lot of times, too, so he found a good hero he was on. Also, he had the grab towards the end that really closed out that map and fight, so Reach coming into his own here, perhaps feeling a little more comfortable. And now the path to victory clear for compLexity. Finished Dorado.
I don't like Meza. The part where he just sits here and trolls me. Map after map. Don't tease me. Stop playing with my heart. If you're going to pick Orisa, just do it.
Giving them the reaction is what they want. They'll stop teasing you if you just ignore them.
I can't. I do not have the self-control to not react to this, even though I know it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not.
I'm my own worst enemy here. I get it.
I mean, I'm going to be the realist. Not happening.
Also, it's not just me. Twitch chat right now is also in here, and they're feeling upset over this. So, I mean, really, many.
I mean, hey, really, it's Meza just making enemies.
Yeah.
Left and right. So I'm looking out for Meza. It's, at this point, he better
Meza,
run it.
you mean Half-a-Cool? Is that how he's going here? Because might be going there in my book with all this Orisa teasing. But of course, Meza going the Winston instead, preferring to do. Oh no, now the Reinhardt. Not a man of science, a man of honor.
Slow push coming out, potential. They're switching all over the place. I'm just going to wait till they leave spawn. Defensively, though, they do have double tank, or actually triple tank, and Saini will be on the DPS role of Soldier 76. So opting for a little more beef in this defensive composition is Renegades. Now on the offense, they have shifted over largely to a dive composition with a Soldier 76 thrown in.
And for compLexity, we'll see if this dive comp works out. They do have multiple threats. Torque, of course, coming in here over the top. The key is going to be Meza diving in with Reach and Nicholas here. Reach, of course, coming up here with Torque. And Renegades is giving a lot of room here to compLexity. Their lane compLexity get into the courtyard relatively uncontested. It's a lot of room, and for a dive comp that could engage in multiple ways, I don't know if this is particularly wise. I guess they just want Death Ball and counter it. We'll see if it works out. Winston dive does come in from Meza. He's able to back out. Reach now looking to the backline. Nicholas already in the backline, and he finds the early kill on the Sadie. Renegades pretty passive to start this out.
The dive working very nice there as Nicholas and Reach got to the back lines and everyone moving forward there. I don't like giving up all that space for free. If you're going to run 4 tanks against a dive comp, either hold it stairs, hold it arch, contest a little bit. You're really only giving up 1 fight now. You know you have 1 fight and you lose, you give up first.
Well, the weakness of dive is that if you get engaged on when you're not ready, you fall to pieces because you're not necessarily as durable. That's why you want to find a way of going back in. And Renegades, just like compLexity, who didn't have a really great initial setup, take multiple tries at it until finally they get the early pickoff, and it snowballs wildly out of control. So compLexity with a very good opening here, a grand opportunity, and we'll see what Torque does in the 76 as he's going to be looking for a bit of a high ground flank in all likelihood.
Renegades has changed back to their comfort heroes. They were on triple DPS instead. Jared will take down Shake, oddly enough.
Torque with the tac visor, already getting one, looking for a Reach, piling on this Dragon Blade. Almost every kill going the way of compLexity, so they convert the ultimates into a lot of momentum here on second. That's going to be a clean take, and this payload will get pushed almost all the way to the brim here in second. We'll see what comes out here for Renegades, but you take a look, there's still plenty of ultimates up for compLexity.
That's what I was going to say. They only used 2. They have both support ultimates, Pulse Bomb and Primal Rage ready here. Meza's going to zone out the right side, not letting them take this high ground as the cart is getting all of this push on the lower levels. They need to find some sort of miracle crew from Renegades, but no ults available. Nicholas is going to take down Sherlocky, who had the only ults on the field for that team.
2 kills to 1 here for compLexity, piling on. There's the Transcendence. They are sensing blood in the water here. Renegades struggling just to delay. They have no tools they can really use to bring this back. The Transcendence was far too on point here for compLexity, both literally and figuratively. As compLexity now going to roll the second, they're going to have 5 minutes and 20 seconds to bring this, not even all the way to last, but just about. So much time for compLexity, so much opportunity.
They're going to need the defense of a lifetime here for Renegades. However, I believe we've seen Dorado last held for 7+ minutes, 8 minutes at a time before. Of all the maps that you have to hold last, I think I would like to be in Dorado on this situation. You see them rotating up top left. This is where you want to be as a defense, trying to get up here. There's Magnitude comes in.
Magnitude moving in, Tac Visor with the Nano Boost. One of the surefire ways of clearing out enemies in Overwatch. And that's going to be about as decisive as you can expect, but they're going to need to do that many times in a row, some of the time without that combo up, so plenty of opportunity here for compLexity. And Hex, to your previous point, I would take 3-patch Eichenwald last over anything.
Fair enough. I forget about lovely Eichenwald. I've just seen Dorado much more in the course of my Overwatch career here. Meza getting in, getting Primal Rage, has the bubble on him, trying to cause all sorts of chaos, just goes to the cart. He needs to get out of here alive, otherwise I'm not sure what any of that was for.
I mean, clearly they felt that Mangachu was hungry and needed to feed, because the problem is that not only did Meza die, it was a very strange outpouring here for compLexity, but you just fed Mangachu another Tac Visor.
That's 1,000 points of HP going the other way. I just don't understand the purpose of that one.
Well, given how important Tac Visor is in pushing back fights like this, it's just, you don't want to give that out for free. Here comes Tac Visor in from Torque this time around. Effectively grabs Mangachu early on, looking for a little bit more. All of Renegades in hot retreat in response to this, and Nicholas piling on the Pulse Bomb. 2-1 here in favor of compLexity. Renegades doing an all right job of actually turning this back into the room. Nice on a play from Sherlocky is what's really enabling this, and now Jesus coming back in on the outskirts of Renegades. The rope-a-dope coming in, and compLexity not converting on that the way they want, and they're going to be going into the Nano Visor in the next fight. Renegades doing a pretty awesome job of pulling this back and evening out the time. They still have to go for 3 minutes, but 3 minutes better than 5.
As good as Renegades has looked, or excuse me, as good as compLexity has looked, these last few minutes have looked aimless, as though they don't have a plan on how to get in. Now something is coming together as they will switch over into 4 tanks, knowing that they're just simply losing too much. Shake, of course, staying on Zenyatta. Now they've got a lot of meat on the ground. Torque on Roadhog, Nicholas Diva, and Meza has switched over to a Reinhardt, looking for a slow push.
I do like Reinhardt for getting
Yes.
in on this last point. Earthshatter is pretty decisive at times for getting in. But here comes Mangachu. Tac Visor on the menu. I'm not sure compLexity has a great answer to this aside from a very on-point hook. And
Transcend.
Transcend is in. He's looking for it, and the Sound Barrier on top. So they're going to burn 2 support ultimates just to deal with Mangachu in the back. Perhaps it's worth it, but perhaps not, as we see Sadie coming with the Dragon Blade. Jesus with a little bit fall through, and unfortunately they had to burn all their support stuff to go here. But here's the thing, look at the cart. This has not been contested this entire time by compLexity. Even as they've been keeping the fight even, the payload got a lot of progress in this fight.
Yeah, absolutely. It is getting close. Yellow box is where they need to push it all the way through. Ult's drained from both sides of the equation here. Maybe some switches happening for the side of Renegades, as Saini will move over to Zarya now instead of Genji. Genji very difficult to have good work done against 4 tanks. The health pool is simply too big.
Well, we're down to 1:40 here, so what was once a near impossibility, now much more likely, as Renegades in a great position to defend. In comes Zero Shot from Juvenile. Sets up for at least 1 kill, but he gives his life for it. Right on right trade. Not the best use of Earthshadow here. Still outs here for Renegades as they try and get back in. But Mangachu, nothing on him here, laying in the damage. Hook doesn't connect, and he kind of just runs into Torque scrap gun there.
I have no idea how they didn't kill Saini. He was in the corner. That's what they were working on in that closet, both of them trying to get it done.
Graviton up here from Reach, looking for it. Doesn't want to throw it away. Instead, the defensive Graviton is out first. No fall through. Sound Barrier out here for compLexity. Now the counter Graviton is in. Pulls in 2. Is it going to be enough? Self-destruct in over the top. Nothing coming from that self-destruct in from Jesus. And compLexity, 3 unanswered kills. Yellow box of victory, gang. Awfully close here, Hex.
Hook on Mangachu. It has been all compLexity here in the kill feed as they clean up everything. Meza had gotten back into this fight, got an Earthshatter down. That is it. compLexity will close out Dorado on the strength of 4 tanks. Despite Renegade's best efforts to the contrary, compLexity taking the series.
And Team Liquid, as a result, falling. We will not be seeing them in the OCS playoffs.
The horse now officially dead. No need to kick it.
Oh, chat's going to kick it. Especially now that you said that. Maybe there would have been a moment of dignity, but I think you actually just like seeing Team Liquid endure pain.
That's untrue. I don't know, I'm a complicated person. Jesus is going to get the play of the game, and despite his best efforts, unable to will the Renegades to victory.
Yeah, and I mean, this match in general, because I was going to say even the previous map may have been one to just highlight for your viewing pleasure for the future. But compLexity, they just came out so strong here. And I want to ask you, because we talked a little bit about Reach. I mean, a lot of questions about him coming in, as we don't really know who he is. Well, we know who he is now. And we saw him play a little bit of Genji earlier, weren't impressed. He played a good Zarya throughout this entire match. But let's talk about Reach's Genji just from this map. What did we see out of him? He had a few Dragon Blades and other plays.
Yeah, Reach's Genji, I think, was fine. I think when you're going in for the first time you see someone on a brand new team, all I really expect is don't be a liability. Don't question why you're even on this team, why you're getting a roster shot. And then I was very impressed with his McCree, actually. I mean, he really turned it around, frustrated Mangachu a lot on second point.
His McCree was his highest point by far.
Yeah.
I think the Zarya was spotty. The Genji was very questionable at points. Overall, if you had to rate between the compLexity players, where we have gone from player to player from week to week, I do think compLexity took a hit by Nesh signing with a different team and leaving compLexity in their tryout phase. I think Nesh was doing more for compLexity, despite some of the games that compLexity lost. As for Reach, maybe he can grow into the role. It's always difficult to judge one off in one experience. There is something to be said for building chemistry with the team. I would say overall, though, if I was being GM for compLexity here, I would be happy that you got the win today, but very much still exploring other options, at least for now.
Right, but if he can run a McCree, it solves one of compLexity's biggest problems of trying to shoot a fair out of this guy.
And then Torque has played McCree, and it's been all right. But the thing is you really want him on something else. He's, doing a lot more on Roadhog and even 76.
That's the part where you have to be happy, though, for compLexity overall, is that it was a monstrous day for Nicholas in particular, and also just the tank play overall. I thought Meza, in general, had a pretty good day moving into it. Torque was solid all day long, and, I mean, it's easy sometimes to forget about the sports, but Shake was not getting picked off early, was getting very key plays in terms of keeping people alive. The core four for compLexity had a banner day. There's no doubt about it. So there's a lot very much going well for compLexity in the series.
Well, one thing for sure came out of that last map, at the very least, it's an idea that I just had, and tell me what you guys think of this. I'll have to check it out with the Carbon Head Honcho. But what do you guys think about the playoffs casted from Cozumel? Get that white van on a little road trip, maybe get some of these lights.
I don't think it'll surprise anyone that I'm more of a Tijuana kind of guy.
Wow, yeah. Learning a lot here.
A little grittier of a city. I like a little character in my city.
So artistic, very.
Yeah.
I have no preference one way or another. I'm just,
you could take him to New Mexico and he wouldn't know the difference.
Maybe this would be a good time to educate our fans on the origin of your name. We learned a little bit about that beforehand.
Completely uninteresting. I stole it from a song.
Yeah?
Yeah.
what was the band of that?
What is this?
I'm sorry. This is not the Spanish Inquisition. Let's just move along.
Interrogation.
I mean, the lights are in my face.
I know.
Yeah.
Just like move one of them.
Someone bring in the
closer
good
here.
cop.
Is that you, ZP?
Oh, it's clearly not.
No.
Look, Turner made me out to be Dr. Evil on national television. Wow. Do I look like the good cop right now?
No, I mean, I no comment maybe on that one. But let's just talk about playoff implications, because we do have all of our playoff teams right now. And so the question is going to be who is going to be where at the end of this. And we're going to find out some of that tomorrow. But let's just take a look at the standings at large then. Right now, 9-0 for LG Evil, as they were still undefeated. Team Liquid is going to have a chance to give them one loss in that column, but Team Liquid, with compLexity finding victory there, is not going to have any hope for pulling into the playoffs. And so now the big question is this middle of the pack, and Renegades, they cannot get second place now. They're going to be, at the very least, third or fourth, which means compLexity solidifying their spot. They're in the middle of the pack now, having the head-to-head advantage on Renegades. So even if they lose to Immortals tomorrow, they'll lose that head-to-head. Means that it's now down to kind of Immortals versus Renegades, rounding up the middle of the pack. And look at the scores, just such a close middle. We talked about it a little bit up front, but looking at LG Evil, if you had to pick one of those three teams, who has the best chance of giving them a match?
I've said it before, I think Immortals does, and just be it based on recent history. Immortals, when they peak and when they're playing perfectly, they can stand toe-to-toe with LG Evil. I think they have the DPS players, especially, who can go off and give LG Evil some problems. I also think Nomi can, in a tank battle, go against Super on his best days, especially. Nomi's been a little inconsistent, but I do think Immortals, of the remaining teams, has the best chance.
Actually, after seeing tonight, I'm going to disagree with you.
Okay.
I think Renegades probably has the best chance. A, because we've seen LG Evil actually just lose to Renegades in the past from Pharah. Hasn't happened recently. But if Renegades can bottle up the goodness of the Pharah play tonight, work it into a more cohesive package that has other options, and you make LG Evil have to adjust more times in a set than they would like, Renegades does have the potential of catching LG Evil off guard. I don't think it's super likely, but it might be more likely than Immortals when put into the same situation.
See, I don't see that happening because they would have to win in a not 5-game set. So they'd have to win in 3 because they struggle as the night goes on. We've seen it time and again that they don't like winning long sets. Their victories have been 3-0s and 3-1s. So I see what you're saying because they did have that one stage on Nepal where Mangachu just absolutely bodied them. But yeah, no, I can see that happening, but I think Immortals just is a better overall team.
I'm really going to spread the butter across the toast here and play devil's advocate.
It's not a say.
It plays. compLexity, though. Let's just talk about complexity, because I would not have said this coming into today's match, but we saw a lot of flexibility out of complexity today, and I think that's I'm not going to say they would be the most likely to win, but I definitely am feeling a lot more comfortable with them and potentially having to face off against them. It would be in the finals, if anything, at this point, as we're going to be seeing if Immortals and Renegades, what really Immortals has to offer tomorrow night is they're going to be trying to pick up victory against complexity. Let's take a look at the schedule. We've got 2 more matches remaining in the regular season. Team Liquid facing off against LG Evil for swag. Alone as LG Evil, not only have they secured their spot and Team Liquid has no chance of getting to the playoffs, but LG Evil has also secured their first place spot. So they're not even going to lose seeding with whatever the result of tomorrow is. And then that's going to be followed by complexity versus Immortals, where we could potentially, we're going to see one of those teams stand out in the standings. And man, I mean, what a day. Definitely make sure you're following us on Twitter and checking us out on our website at carbon.gg/OCS because we're going to be posting a lot of crazy plays, I'm sure, tonight, if we haven't already posted many clips on Twitter. And then, of course, we will be closing out the night with the play of the game that you were able to select. Thank you, Twitter. And that, I mean, I wish I could guess. I'm really actually pretty excited to see which one it is. And come back tomorrow with more #OCS plays for your shot. And coming into the playoffs this weekend, we'll have more opportunities for giveaways. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and say good night. It's been an intense night of matches, more than I could have ever imagined. And we're going to go out with the play of the game replay. So here it is. #OCS plays. See you tomorrow night.
Take it back is Renegades. There is Mangachu.
Oh my God. Got two already. Looking for another.
This team, Juvenile, has been an aggressive tank previously. They only get one on the ground from that safe on the lift is the others, but coming through with the side, the Graviton. Already a sound barrier coming out. The grab does catch more.
The grab connects, and there's a bang. Renegades is losing ground. Ooh, not anymore. Mangachu the fall through after Jesus to get to this fight. They take down Shake immediately. They're not going to worry about the Reaper cleanup. Mangachu in the skies. That very good flick, and he piles on the barrage. Before getting charged right to the